Plot fix.
Hello and welcome to episode 178 of the Filmmakers Podcast. We're so close to 200. This is a podcast where we talk filmmaking from indie film to studio films and everything in between. How to get them made, how to make them, and how to try not to mess it up. In our very, very humble opinion. I'm Giles Alderson. I am a writer, director, and producer.
And I'm Ian Sharp. Good to be here again. I am an actor, producer, and for my sins, a financier.
Woohoo! Today we are talking with fantastic producer Piers Tempest. Now, Piers recently has made the feature films The Wife, which was Oscar nominated, Churchill, starring Brian Cox, Robot Overlords, which is one of my favourites, Military Wives, recently starring Kristen Scott Thomas and Sharon Horgan, and of course, Love, Wedding, Repeat, which has been a #1 smash on Netflix over this lockdown. We had a brilliant chat with Piers, didn't we, Ian?
Yeah, he was such a lovely guy and just gave so many kind of golden nuggets of information. So this is going to be a really good episode.
Yeah, and some of those include him talking about what it's like working on a COVID safety feature film, which he's doing right now. He's prepping for one, which he's going to shoot in 4 weeks. And he also talks about how he likes to develop projects from the ground up.
Yep, and definitely his attitudes kind of towards the industry in general, having a good sense of humor, the perseverance as well. As we know, producing can be quite a tough business and can be quite lonely. So definitely having a good sense of humor.
He talks about how he likes to make his movies, the whole process behind that, how he likes to work with the same crew and talent, and how important it is to select the right team when you're producing a movie.
Absolutely. And what I found really interesting was he has a budget level that he likes to tend to operate in, and he doesn't try and deviate from that. And I think that's very good and very responsible, and it gives the film the best possible chance of getting made and, returning its investment. So that was really interesting.
So you've got all that to look forward to, you lovely, lovely, lucky listeners. Thank you so much for joining us today. Honestly, I can't appreciate your time enough. Ian Sharp, thank you so much for co-hosting today. How are you, buddy?
I'm very well, mate. Thank you so much. Like every time I'm on this, I always learn a ton. So I'm always grateful to be here.
But obviously you're a producer yourself in your own right, Sharpie, so it's amazing you learn from these. But obviously you produced Kickoff, Pleasure Island, Undergods, Westwood, and The Marker recently. And you're in post-production on The Visitor as well, right?
Yeah, no, exactly. So hopefully in the next few weeks, we should have a fully completed movie.
Holy moly. What you mean complete as in sound mix, score, grade?
All being well, everything. So, it should be ready for market. This one was financed up front, so by the BBC, us, and Film London. The BFI, I think, put a bit of money in there as well. So,
do you know what? You might be the first person I've spoken to for a long time who's had any money from the BFI. So, congratulations. It's not easy. It's not easy. You have to jump through a lot of hoops and you have to go around the houses. But do you know what? It's a great time for you to be releasing a movie, right? I mean, to be now saying, hey, we've got a finished movie.
Exactly. You think right now you're in a good position, selling a product, if you want to call it that. So fingers crossed. Let's see how the film responds.
I can't wait to hear more. Obviously, Ian's one of our regular co-hosts, so you will find out about his journey. Ian also starred in Arthur and Merlin, which I directed, which is available now in the UK and will be available in the US in December, if you like it. The Dare is also out in the USA and Canada, and Switching It Round is out in the UK in October, and that's my debut movie. That was a little plug. That was fun, wasn't it? Shall we get to this week's episode with the fantastic Piers Tempest?
Yeah, I think so, mate. I think we're ready.
Are we ready? Are we?
I hope so. I think so. I know so. Yes.
Here it is. This is mine and Ian's chat with fantastic Piers Tempest. Enjoy.
My sister's getting married.
Hi. Oh, wow, you look gorgeous.
Hello, how are you?
I didn't know you had a new boyfriend. I'm so glad you've moved on from that last guy. What was his name, Chaz?
No, I'm Chaz.
Oh, my God. Have you gone out with 2 Chazes in a row?
You remember Dina, my American friend that you met in Rome?
Yeah.
She's here.
What?
Jack.
Hey, I used to ask about you all the time.
I used to ask about you, too.
Oh, God. Got a bit of a problem. Mark Fisher. saying that he's in love with me and he's threatening to go full on psycho and ruin my wedding. This is the sleep medicine that I've been taking. It would knock him out for hours. Just put a couple of drops of that in his champagne glass.
There has to be another way.
There is no other way.
There is.
There is.
There has to be.
Please, there is.
There has to be.
Haley! Hey! Your sister is an angel, isn't she?
Yeah. Life all comes down to chance.
You get kidnapped?
Yes.
I'd kidnap you.
Oh.
This wedding is over!
Oh my God! You are a piece of...
What are you doing? Just taking a really strong sedative. Put your fingers down my throat.
What?
I can't do it myself.
Oh! Oh!
Just wanted to check to see if you guys were good. You good? You good?
Piers, thank you so much for joining us.
It's a very great pleasure.
Absolute pleasure to have you. Now, for those who don't know, I'm just going to list a few of Piers' credits here, and his credit list goes on a long way. So he started assisting runner on Plunkett McLean, Little Wing Films, did 9 Dead Gay Guys, and then went on to make 2 Men Went to War. He made Pure with Keira Knightley, American Cousins, and moving on to Grabbers, which I love, John Wright, Robot Overlords, The Journey, Churchill, The Wife, Driven, Ordinary Love, with Leslie Manville and Liam Neeson, Military Wives with Kristen Scott Thomas and Sharon Horgan recently, and the just released Love, Wedding, Repeat on Netflix with Sam Claflin and Eleanor Tomlinson. Piers Tempest, who runs Tempo Productions. Welcome to the Filmmakers Podcast.
Thank you.
Pleasure. What a list.
It's quite an
wow.
eclectic list, to be fair. Yeah.
Is that on purpose? Did you think, oh, well, hey, I'm going to do an eclectic mix of movies? Or were you like, no, just what comes up?
Yeah, I think it's really what comes up. I mean, it's really, it's really things that we get really interested in. I mean, I think Churchill, The Journey, Driven, fascinated on John DeLorean's story. When I heard that, I was like, oh God, we've got to make this movie. Totally. And so there isn't, to be fair, much of a strategy other than trying to find stories which really resonate and can travel internationally and have got something bigger than the script. They've got something else for a hook for distributors to market, whether it's a true story or real life or just a really, really strong concept. And it's a lot about working with directors who we like. So we're doing our 3rd film with John Wright. We've shot 3 films with Nick Ham, about to do 4. So it's kind of, it's those sort of long-term creative relationships, which we like as well.
Yeah, and it's so important to have those, isn't it? So I thought this would be a really good chance for us all to just chat about producing movies, tips and tricks for filmmakers out there who are listening, who always listen. But I think, Piers, it'll be a treat for them to listen to you with your extended list. Love, Wedding, Repeat came out, obviously, during this whole lockdown situation. And, the fact it got to number 1, right, in the Netflix ranking. It was
pretty much globally, yeah.
Globally. I mean, wow, what a wonderful thing. Did you always know that Netflix was going to be your route with that, or did you want to do cinema at one point?
Well, we did. Well, actually, it's a bit of a mixed. Just to go back a bit, we had 2 films. We had Military Wives coming out in cinemas. So that did, just before lockdown came, we had 2 weeks, and it was doing really well theatrically. So I think it was £2.5 million in the first 2 weeks or 3 weeks, which is so it's on track to be a really, really successful film. And then all the cinema shut, so we're all, really gutted on that. So it's a real chance of and it's a great movie, Military Wives, and it's meant to be enjoyed in the cinema with, and with all the audience emoting together, and it's. And then just about a month later, obviously Love, Wedding, Repeat came out, which obviously benefited from everyone being stuck in their houses. So we had fantastic numbers on Netflix, which was great. We started the movie without Netflix, and they came in and acquired it about 3 weeks before we started shooting, quite late on in the day once we'd cast it and were in late pre-production.
Well, which actually turned out really well for you, right? I mean, now you're like, well, thank the world that actually happened, because look at the numbers, look at Cope. Does it make a difference with Netflix? Because I don't know actually because it might be a buyout or it might not be, but if they do that, then does it make a difference if it's at number one for so long for them?
No.
Does it matter? No more money comes back to you guys, right? In a sense, no, I didn't think so.
A lot of my films have been on the platform, but in terms of an acquisition,
an actual original.
I'm not. So I'm not sure how other deals are structured. But for us, I think it's a license for a flat fee for a number of years, and I don't think it's there isn't any uptick on the amount of numbers that one does. But again, obviously as a producer, you want as many people to watch the movie as possible.
Of course you do.
And so it worked very well. But I've got to say, we can't divulge numbers, but I was absolutely staggered at the amount of the numbers that when we had our 30-day review. So it's
incredible, and congratulations.
Thanks, it's great fun. It's been a good bit of escapism, basically.
Exactly, and I think we needed that from all the, people were watching movies about infections and stuff. I was like, why are you watching movies like that when something like Love, Wedding Repeats on? You can watch that and get lost in it and just have a great time and enjoy yourself. And I think that's what everyone wanted. So I'm not surprised it did well. It's great. I suppose let's jump into the beginning, really. Why be a filmmaker? How did you get that first job as a runner back in the day, a production assistant, as we call them now? How did it work for you?
I've always been interested in film. And at school, I remember there were 3 of us in the film club. All 3 of us are still in the industry. So Alex Bronner is an agent at United Talent in America, and Tom Waller is a producer in Thailand. He kind of, produces all studio movies in Thailand. So it's quite interesting.
I love that. That's so cool, because I was in the chess club, and I don't think any of us are still playing chess. What? So there is
yet. After university, then a lot of my friends were sort of going off to work as management consultants and doctors and sensible jobs. So I went to go work for Working Title Films to go and make tea for about £50 a week. And started as a runner.
And did you just knock on the door type thing? Because a lot of people would be going, well, I'll happily do that. Was it?
Yeah,
did you have a way in?
Yeah, no, I did. At that time, it was pretty much, I didn't have any sort of family connections or anything like that. It was literally
amazing. Just you going, hiya, can I make tea for you?
Yeah, I did a couple of weeks for free. And I think
I'm from Yorkshire, I'll do it well.
From Yorkshire, exactly.
So you on Plunkett McLean as a runner. Did they sort of push you into that?
It was actually first. Weirdly, so I was working in the office at Working Title for about 8 months, and then I went to go and work on one of their productions called Thunderbirds, which was when Peter Hewitt was going to direct it. Peter Hewitt did The Borrowers and films like that. Then the film, it says full pre-production, and then 2 weeks before photography, it got closed down, the production, because I think it was because Polygram was being sold to Seagram or something like that. It's a big corporate sort of decision.
Mm-hmm. Right.
And then, so all the production team that were on went over to Plunkett and McLean, who were doing a 4-week reshoot. So we went straight onto that at Pinewood.
I see. Okay.
So it's quite, it's really interesting. It's just really interesting to see how films at that level work. I never forgot the director of photography turning up in a purple Rolls Royce wearing a shell suit. Kind of thing.
Yeah. That's different level.
Level. Yeah, exactly.
Has he gone on to other Rolls Royces and shell suits?
I don't know. He's a very, I don't know. He does a lot of Ridley Scott films. So yeah, presumably.
Right.
So, wow.
John Matheson, right?
So, yeah.
John Matheson. Gladiator and Logan. Yeah, he's doing all right. Yeah. He's fine. He can buy whatever shell suits he wants. So Plunkett McLean, then you did another one straight away as well, didn't you? While you were there, sort of Quills, right?
That was a fantastic experience. On that, I went to go and was Philip Kaufman's director's assistant, he's a fantastic San Franciscan director. He's sort of part of an old George Lucas set. And he directed a movie called The Right Stuff, which was pretty iconic in the States. And he was good because, if you're a director's assistant, you really sit in everything. So that was just great, having access to seeing the inner workings of how film comes together from a director's point of view. And also because it was, again, as a Fox Searchlight film, because it was a pretty, budgets were quite tight for that type of movie. I was driving him as well, so got to know him really well, and his family.
What a great way in! Wow, wonderful. At that point, did you know you wanted to produce, because you produced a short as well?
Yeah, I always thought I'd really always wanted to produce, really, because I just like the way it uses both sides of the brain. It's part creative, it's part business, and I really like the way it's project based. So you're kind of starting something and then finishing it and then starting something else. And I just thought so kind of it really, I don't know why, but it just really attracted me as something to do. And it's kind of quite like behind the scenes rather than sort of in front of the scenes. And I think I'm not a director. Why? I think to be a great director, you've got to have quite a personality type, and which I'm sort of, no, I'm not, basically. So I think producing kind of really sort of, grabbed me.
It's funny how it finds you, isn't it? It's very satisfying because I don't know, you don't really tend to grow up and go, I want to be a producer one day. It's either you want to be an actor or a director, whatever, but somehow it seems to find you. And then you're right, if it uses both sides of the brain, which it does, it can become very addictive and empowering, and just really creatively satisfying at the same time. So
it is. And it's got this weird thing where I don't feel really creatively satisfied unless it's been incredibly difficult, which actually most films are, so it's okay. If it's too easy, I come out of there thinking, oh God, actually.
You have to marry both sides, don't you? And I think the best producers do that. Like you do get particularly maybe some inexperienced producers starting out. It is a case of, oh, well, I don't do finance, or I don't do the numbers, or I don't do that. And it's like, no, it's kind of both sides, right? Yeah. And the best producers can do both sides.
I think one thing which is critical for good producing skills is to really understand every element of the business, whereas distribution, international sales, production, and also I think you've got to, I think just starting off as a runner and just going from the bottom up, so you understand, you can really see things from the camera trainee's perspective, or the third AD's perspective, or it's just getting that overall understanding. You don't have to be an expert in everything, but just having that overall understanding of what makes a set tick, what's gonna get the best creative outcome, and how to structure things. So at least coming at decision making with a bit of knowledge is really helpful.
Yep. I think that's definitely helped me from my kind of acting background, is being able to, as a producer with my business hat on, is being able to communicate with creatives, directors, writers, or whatever, and trying to get the kind of fiscal responsibility across or whatever, but being able to understand where they're coming from. I think it's been a massive asset to me as a producer.
Absolutely, I agree.
A lot of people don't know what a producer does. I've had this a few times. I think a Serial Killer's Guide to Life came out, what was it, earlier this year, and my sister watched it. She went, "Oh, it was great. What did you do on it?" I said, I produced it. And she went, "So what did you do?" Okay, I got to try and explain what you do. And it's actually very true. A lot of people don't know what a producer does, and pretty much you do everything, nuts and bolts, organizing it, setting it up, shoots, working with cast, setting up call sheets, making sure you go through everything, contracts. You can do, the list goes on. And you mentioned there you like to be hands-on, Piers. You said you prefer that side of it. Does that mean you do all those things, or do you delegate well as well?
On the definition of a producer, I always say it's a thankless task where, if a film is a great success, the director gets all the kudos, and if it's a disaster, then the producer gets all the blame, basically. So
I should describe it like that.
Absolutely have that, a little bit of a sadomasochistic streak, I think, as part of the psyche producerially.
There's no glory in it. There's no glory in it at all. No, you're just doing it. Yeah, absolutely. So then you kind of moved on to, you sort of stepped out of that and actually produced on your own with 11:59, and then you became head of development.
I did this bonkers short film, which in retrospect is insane, where we shot London empty, basically.
Amazing.
Which actually, looking back, it's on 35 minutes. It's called Subterfuge.
Subterfuge,
And
right?
it's on,
Okay, good,
it's on
good.
our website, but it's just nuts, the whole movie. And it's kind of very experimental. And it was good. It was very good practice. But I didn't really know what I was doing. And it was a good kind of baptism into sort of insanity. And it was a very,
Totally.
but the film actually did very well, because we went to Sky and we sold it to a company called the Image Bank in New York, who used bits of it. So it's quite visually striking for commercials. So they basically chopped it up and licensed the footage, which really helped on the...
That's great. So you made some money.
I wouldn't say we made money on it, but we didn't lose sort of too much. That was a good thing.
Because that's the problem with shorts, is they're brilliant and a great calling card and really useful, but it's very hard to make money back on shorts.
Almost impossible. Yeah, unless you go to QB, which I haven't done, but that isn't that.
Yes, there's quite a few platforms who'll do it. There's quite a few others where you can sell your shorts, and we've done it actually, and we've sold a couple of ours that have gone on to do really well. But most of the time, unless they've got names in or they're really good or they won awards, don't do anything. It's there just as a calling card and move on.
Yeah.
That's what I think. People spend so much money and time on shorts.
Yeah.
And my thing is, well, you could actually spend that time and money making a feature, which you can then actually sell. You mentioned there that you felt that you didn't really know what you were doing there when you first started out. Looking back now, what do you think you did wrong, or what do you think you could have been better at as a producer?
I'm really proud of the movie because it had visual effects in it. This was 20 years ago, and it was, I think I quite like the way I quite like biting off sort of more than we can chew sometimes, like on Robot Overlords and kind of, you know what I mean? So I'm never going to apologize for ambition, basically.
And you shouldn't, nor should you.
That short film was, I have to think about that, because 1,000,000% we would have done things very, very different. But I think if you look at it in terms of gaining producerial experience very quickly, that was then it did absolutely tick the box.
And sometimes it's good to just jump into the fire, right, as a producer and go, I don't know what I'm doing. Okay, well, that needs moving from there to there. Where's the toilets going to go? Who's going to get paid from this? Where's catering going to go? You just throw yourself into it and you're going, oh, right, okay, well, that's producing then. You're just kind of organizing a very shit wedding. You know what I mean?
When was it, Piers, when you thought, you know what, when you were figuring it out, how long into your career, how many films did you have under your belt before you thought, you know what, I think I'm getting it now?
Probably about 11 feature films in.
It takes a long time.
It's really, our movies, they've got to have a hook. They've got to sell every territory in the world. They've got to launch an A-list festival, and they've got to attract talent. And we've got to make them at a price point which studios can't make them at. And they've got to have the ability to play theatrically, basically. There are sort of little nuggets about how we select movies, basically. And I think we're just being really rigorous on that. And I think the more, it's more knowing how to structure them most effectively, how to, just kind of, if someone's saying to you, I can't, on every movie, people will say it can't be done, you can't do this, you can't do that. And having the confidence to think, actually, I can do that, and I can do it like this, actually, and I'm going to. And also, I can't, I'm really bad at, I only get fired up to make a film if someone tells me I can't do it, or enough people pass. And it's actually that gives you, you've got to have that energy to go in and, fight the fight with the director.
Because it is hard. I mean, it's literally like walking into that fire. It's a really tough job.
It's really tough.
It's not easy.
It's a really tough job. But it's very rewarding. I think a lot of it is selecting the people you are building around the movie and going in with whether it's the right finance partners, the right distribution partners, the right line producer, and it's getting it's really if you invest in the people that you're on with the journey, then whatever hits you'll be able to find a sort of a solution for.
And I think that's exactly right, because you have worked with the same people quite a lot of the time. So therefore, you know it works.
Yeah.
You've got that rhythm, and you've been through times when it doesn't work. So when it does work, you kind of stick with that team, because you go, well, why would I go somewhere else that might not work, or go back to something that didn't work? Because you've got to try and make your life a little bit easy, you know, because it's really
always
hard.
a crisis, basically. It's not possible to make an independent film. Glenn Close said to me, the definition of an independent film is one that almost didn't get made, which actually I think is it's actually quite correct.
About 10 times it didn't get made as well. Yeah, exactly. About 10 times it fell down, money fell out, I mean, that, and for you then, we'll come back to your amazing credit list as well. There was loads, by the way, listeners, what I didn't mention that Piers has done. We'll come on to those. Do you look for, obviously you get the project first, you find the script. Is it then that you start to look for cast at that point, knowing that the cast will help sell the movie? Potentially your director's already on board.
Yeah, well, it's sort of, we as a company, we do two types of movie, basically. We do one type which we develop films ourselves from scratch, from an idea, basically. And then that's literally from the ground up. So that's films like Love, Wedding, Repeat, and Driven, the film we're about to do now, Oyster Farmer, Like Minds, Robot Overlords. It's basically ones where we actually commission the script, build it, and then then we are casting, and we are casting from the ground up and packaging it. And we have to. It's normally script, director, lead bits of talent, finance. That's literally the sequence. There's always exceptions, basically. Like the film we're doing now, we actually financed it first and got a studio to come in and then cast it. But normally it's the other way around.
So with those projects that you mentioned, how did you development finance them? Is that something that your company does in-house, or do you go elsewhere first?
Preferably elsewhere. So on The Journey and on Driven, for example, Northern Ireland Screen put development funds in. A film called Hotel Teresa we're doing about Castro and Malcolm X. Ingenious put development funding into that. So it depends. Well, we will put, Love, Wedding, Repeat, we did ourselves. It depends.
Right.
Normally one does try. I mean, the thing with development, we're very small company, and it just takes so much time developing a script. So we try and only take on very few projects that we are almost certain we can get off the ground. And the other type of films that we do, like Military Wives, for example, is when they've been developed by another company, in that case 42, and we came on to help finance and physically deliver it, which is good. But I think working, I love working in partnership with companies, and again, it expands your own network, and also it helps spread the pressure a bit.
Yeah. Do you take it in turns to see who's like the lead producer on set, if you like? Is it kind of I'm going to lead this one, or?
No, because on that one, the whole point was, I was a producer on sets for that movie. Yeah. So it just depends. It just depends on what normally I think if you do a co-venture, you've got to really define the responsibilities about who's doing what.
Yes.
But it's and a lot of it is timing. We can do 3 films a year, capacity wise. And it's just seeing what comes up. But if there's a project which suddenly if you get offered and it's a fantastic script, it comes with an actor attached, then we think we can do it. And often that happens quite a lot, actually, where someone's got a great project, great script, and it's, we can't make it work for $20 million, and it's like, well, if you do it like this, maybe there's a way to do it for 8. And then that suddenly unlocks it and it becomes a viable sort of project.
Yeah.
You managed to get that perfect balance of you're a lean company, but you're a successful company. Like, were you ever tempted to go, right, let's go bigger, let's become the, company, like the working title now or whatever, or, you got tens of staff and whatever. Were you ever tempted to go down that route, or were you thought, no, lean, nimble, adaptable?
No, I think I'm definitely of the lean and nimble. I think that I just think, and also just sort of, I mean, the whole COVID situation really, it's like that, suddenly a lot of companies, if you've got a large overhead, it's, it becomes tricky. And I think it's probably not that I do have a restaurant, but I imagine it's a bit like having a restaurant which is really successful, and then you then branch out into and buy another site, sort of your initial offering, and where you can fall down.
Yeah.
And I think for us, given that we only do 2-3 films a year maximum, is that actually when we take on a film, we can give it the attention and really focus on it and make sure the cost is drilled down as much as possible and make sure it's sold and really deliver for the financiers. And I think increasing that capacity, and if you're suddenly running a company as well, A, it's a different skill set, and B, you've got a massive overhead. It's just a different pathway, isn't it? And I think maybe in 10 years, absolutely. But at the moment, I'd much rather be hands-on, getting the movies done. And we never moved into TV. Really, we might be doing a TV show early next year.
Okay.
But again, big debate with my business partner was, should we bring on a TV executive and then suddenly you look at what the TV executives are earning. My observation is so like cliquey in terms of all the commissioning editors have gone to know each other, and they all then go and have sweetheart deals with production companies and showrunners that they've given the last 4 commissions to. You know what I mean? And if you're not absolutely in that, then it's going to be, it's difficult, isn't it?
It is, and you're absolutely in the film world. So, with the hits you've had recently as well, you kind of like, well, yeah, we could, but it might dilute. So you mentioned there, like, say, you'll find a script, you'll find the right project, if you like, get the director, then you look for cast and money, sometimes the other way around. Will you look to sell the movie at that point, or some pre-sales, or you sometimes hold off and wait? What's the best way to do this? And obviously these are bigger budgets than maybe some of our listeners are used to, but still it's the same principle, isn't it?
Pre-sales, yeah. So two years ago, the normal model for every film we produce is to pre-sell probably 35% of it.
Okay.
35, 40%. So to get some key films are valued based on sales estimates, and that then tells you what budget you need to hit. And then pre-selling some of the territories validates the numbers for the financiers. So it's really important to do that. However, so that is the general rule. The exception is now that there are a lot of multi-territory buyers who can come and take the world. And also it's probably more attractive to them to take the world, is then you don't pre-sell, but then you've got to work out how you're going to finance the film in the first place. So for example, on Love Wedding Repeat, we had an Italian financier who was effectively taking the entire risk of the movie, which paid off because Netflix came and bought the world. But if they hadn't, he would have been his exposure would have been very execution dependent.
I see. Okay.
He hadn't offset any of the initial risk. So it was a risky move, but it paid off. But normally, for one of these films between £5 and £10 million, you do need to sell to make sure other distributors think like you that it will sell in their territory, and the numbers are vaguely correct.
Okay,
right. So would that be a combination then of some pre-sales, potentially a tax credit depending on where you're shooting, a bit of equity and a bit of gap?
That's exactly it. Yeah. Fewer parties are better, but yeah, that's definitely the model.
Do you work with the same financiers, or do you just you shop it around?
It really depends what the movie is, what the budget is. But yeah, I tend to, in terms of the last sort of 5 films, the financiers will have good experience. So I always go back, which helps. Yeah, if it's what genre it is, what the budget is, if it's shooting in America or here or wherever. But there aren't that many, but probably only 10 gap funders around. So it's quite a small small world.
Yeah.
But I mean, like you mentioned before on Love, Wedding and Repeat, the fact that those numbers were so successful, you probably could go back to Netflix now and say, well, look, I want to make something else, something similar-ish. And, they go into their big algorithm or whatever. And then you never know, you could fully finance that movie, another movie again, right?
Potentially, yeah, absolutely. That would be good. I mean, I think it's interesting because the perception of, from 2-3 years ago was, Netflix was like a sort of, a straight to video sort of situation.
It was, yeah.
It's absolutely the opposite, basically. So they are, believe me, they want theatrical, talent-led movies for their audience, their subscribers.
Totally. Well, they stick a picture of Glenn Close or whatever on the front of Netflix. We go, oh, I like Glenn Close. I'll click the link and watch it. Does stars make a difference to the film as well in terms of who's hot right now, who's doing well? Are they worth more in the market? Are you looking at that as well when you...
All the time.
Right.
Absolutely all the time. Yeah, that's absolutely crucial to us. Yeah. And then we can now phone up distributors in Germany and say, we're thinking about doing this, and we've got so-and-so as the lead. Does, what do you think? So we're always having those conversations. But I mean, a while ago, when the internet first started, everyone was thinking the long tail, it's going to be great for independent movies because there's more people can find the movie. But I think the opposite has happened in terms of when there's a plethora of things to watch, viewers coalesce around the tentpoles, basically, and the ones. It's like going to a restaurant with 100 dishes.
Right.
You'd actually rather go into and be told what to eat in a restaurant.
It's true.
Rather than have to go through the stress.
If there's too many options, it's like, oh well, I don't know. You pick for me. It's too many options.
So talent, and one of the ways you pick is by talent. And you go, oh, I really like watching Leonardo DiCaprio movies. He's great. Or you recognize Sam Claflin, or you recognize Glenn. You know what I mean? So I think that kind of, I think that the power of talent is absolutely rising in a way. But it's the same talent. It's the same group of 100 actors.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice, Piers? So I'm at that stage, for a bit of context, like where I'm trying to make that step up now. So I've made some, an exec produce quite a few independent movies at a budget level, but I really want to step up that budget level and make more international projects. But I'm now going to, the agents and trying to get that level of cast that has that significant value. But, I get it. They look back at my CV and go, well, this is a big step up or whatever. Do you have any advice to those producers, particularly like myself, that are wanting to get access to that talent? Because, you can spend months just waiting for an actor to read the script, or even for the agent to even send the script over.
I would be very cognizant of the genre and of the material you are approaching the actor with, and really do your research. So it's basically the notion that if you're doing a genre film and you're trying to get a star in it on a low budget, it's never going to happen, basically. So, but if it's a really meaty role about something that actor is interested in, then you've got a chance. And it's really not about the producer, it's about the director and the material. Most actors will, if there's a role that they can see themselves in that's about something that's meaningful. Because you can't, you're not going to pay Jason Statham, we might do, but it's unlikely you're going to pay Jason Statham $15 million to do a reboot the movie, because that's what studios do.
Yeah.
So I think, but if you find like an amazing role that's a really interesting bit of subject matter or bit of history that you think, God, that'll really flick someone's switch, and I think that's very doable. I think most actors are not in it for, the fight for the money, really. They're in it for the art, and that's why they've chosen that career path. So I think if it's something that interests them, that's probably what's going to at least get them to read the script. And also the main thing is if it's a director who has got some track record. So if it's if it's an unknown producer, unknown director, and a low budget, it's quite a struggle. If it's a really interesting IP that the agent can be hooked on within one sentence, and it's a director that is is not has got some track record that's either it's got some the short films won an Oscar, or or they've done a really good episode of some high scale TV or a low budget feature that's got. Then you've got a shot. And also the other thing is, if you're saying to the actor, look, we'll make it 2 weeks and we'll shoot it in London, your segment, rather than it's going to be 16 weeks in Romania for 50 grand. And make it easy, make it an easy yes.
That makes sense.
And I think you really touched on something earlier on as well about partnering up those co-productions. So I know now for the films that I'm trying to make, films anything between kind of the 5 and 15 range. And, the first thing on my mind once I get to, the script is ready and, we've maybe even got a director attached, some of them, I want to partner with experienced exec producers or experienced producers because I want to make more, I want to have a career making those levels of films, whereas I'm all for sharing. And I think what I'm seeing now is maybe in a post-COVID time more than ever, you kind of have to share the load as well, I think. So that's a good bit of advice.
It's absolutely, I mean, producing is absolutely collaborating. It's completely a collaboration. And it's basically, I think the best producers, in which I always try and emanate, is if you just make every decision about coming from what is best for the movie. Basically, then that actually makes it a lot easier to make decisions.
You're right.
And if you are, and also I've seen so many sort of producers who, the ego gets in the way, or kind of, it's just, it's not, they're thinking about other stuff. Whereas if you just say, okay, actually, it is about what is best for making the best possible movie. Yeah. Then if everything comes from that, then then it kind of, it just becomes more. You can really see what the best decisions are.
It's so true. Like you'd be amazed on how often that is, though. How ego just totally gets in the way. I also I have a finance company as well, and God, the amount of conversations that we had where if they just maybe partnered with maybe a bit more of an experienced producer or brought in an EP, the film would have got made. But they sometimes can't get out of their own way. So I hope our listeners will take on board that advice.
Yeah, it's great advice. And talking of budgets there, you mentioned between 5 and 10 million. Now, recently we got told that anything sort of between 1 and 2, cool, you can go make something, get a couple of names in it and go make a movie that way. And then the next sort of level up was 10. People were saying don't make anything sort of less, sort of anything between 5, 6, 7 or 4. So it's very hard to say. Is there any truth to this?
I don't actually, because I think I mean the movies we make are all in that 5 to 10 range, 5 to 10 sterling. And actually, I think for us, where you need to have a certain level of talent and the film needs to be made at a sufficient quality to play wide cinema-wise, really that's for sort of, that is with £5 million is the sort of, for me, the kind of the floor for doing that.
Right.
It gets, I mean, the nearer it is to 5 rather than 10, the better. But it is really, that's what we found quite consistently, actually, over the last sort of 7, 8 films.
That's incredible. That's really interesting. So many people have said this to me. No, don't. If you're looking in that middle range, don't bother. It'd be very hard to tell.
I'd say the middle range is more 10 to 20. Right. That's the tricky range, because you can take a real bath if you get it wrong on that.
Makes sense. Yeah, I like that. Coming back to sort of your career a little bit in terms of where you went, you then made a load of movies, and for me, I'd really like to talk about when I started to hear about you. Killing Bono, Grabbers, and Robot Overlords for me was when I was like, who's this Piers guy? What's he going on? Because at that time I was just trying to make movies or hearing about it, and Killing Bono was in cinemas, did really well. Grabbers was like, what is this wonderful Irish sort of freaky,
it was a great movie.
Yeah,
it went to Sundance, didn't it? It was such a great film.
Yeah. And then Robot Overlords, my mate Mark Stay was one of the writers
Okay, well, Mark is this film I'm about to do in 4 weeks. Mark wrote with John.
He mentioned about this to me the other day. He said, "Well, hopefully we've got a film going." Okay, it's that one. Oh, great.
It's going.
It is going. Good. Yeah. Well, then he's over the moon. I mean, look. For me, let's talk about that stage of your career. By that point, had you felt like, okay, I'm an established producer now, things are moving along, or were you still trying to find your way? Because I feel like now you're very established. You're like, yeah, okay, I've made quite a few hits. At that point, were you still sort of testing the waters and seeing what worked?
I mean, those films were all really, they all had very specific, very steep learning curves on them, those films.
Yeah,
for
tell us
different reasons,
more, please.
basically.
Yeah.
So Killing Bono was, if you haven't seen it, it's a true story of the rock critic called Neil McCormick and his brother. He's a rock critic, I think he still is, for Daily Telegraph. And him and his brother went to school with U2. And his brother, Ivan, was in U2 when they were first at school, basically. Sorry, no, he wasn't. No, sorry, I tell a lie. He played with them, and then Bono said to Neil, "Can you ask your brother if he wants to be in U2?" And Neil didn't pass on the message because he wanted Ivan to be in his own band. So that is a sort of setup for the movie. I mean, basically the movie is the parallel career between Neil and Ivan's band and U2. So it's kind of like every decision they made was like wrong. Yeah. It's about kind of that brush with fame.
Yeah. And
so that's sort of, and it is vaguely true. I mean, it's not quite true, but it's based on the biography, I Was Bono's Doppelganger, which we renamed Killing Bono. But that was interesting because we had to record all the songs beforehand, all the Shook Up was the name of the band, Neil and Ivan's band. So we had to do all the recording, we had to negotiate all the music rights and all that kind of thing. Yeah. So that was really interesting because music is still a bit of a dark art as far as licensing and rights and publishing is concerned.
And using real people as well, because you've got Bono in there, you've got The Edge, these are real people who you're putting on screen with another actor, sometimes. So it's, how do you work that?
That is very, but not many things I can claim to be an expert on, but I'm quite good at what you need permission-wise and what you don't need permission-wise, especially with the John DeLorean movie and Ian Paisley and Martin McGuinness and Killing Bono. So you're surprised about what you actually don't need in order to make a movie. But my producing partner on that film was Ian Flukes, who used to be U2's agent for 25 years.
Perfect,
so he was a big rock and roll agent. So he had that sort of, a direct in. So we got, again, it's one of those things where going in, everyone was saying, you're never going to get a U2 track. And then we got, one of their biggest hits for the end of the movie, basically.
Yeah, which is incredible. And you mentioned that it stars Ben Barnes, it stars Robert Sheehan as well, right? You mentioned there's some things that you learned or things that weren't necessarily the way you wanted them to go.
Yeah, it's a first real brush with the power of the US agents, basically.
Okay.
And which was really interesting because we got a call from an US agent, the day before we're about to close the finance on the film, saying, by the way, Ben's pulling out. So I was going, oh, really? Okay, why is that? And they said, we have to sell American rights on the movie, which they currently weren't.
Right.
And I knew they were lying, but I knew Ben didn't know anything about it. And I knew basically, so I called their bluff. I said, okay, well, look, I'll just, I'll call you back. So I called Nick Ham, the director, and Nick's brilliantly abrasive. So he was right. I'm fucking Tom to, fuck off. I'm recasting now. So I then called them back and said, I'm really sorry, it's not going to work, guys. You know, I've already done a deal. I'll get Nick to call Ben. Put the phone down.
Brilliant.
5 seconds later, had like the entire business affairs going, oh, it's been a misunderstanding, blah, blah, blah. You know. So that's amazing.
So
that was quite an interesting little lesson for
the powers and that money play, that whole playing that game of
using leverage. And, you know. So that was quite interesting. And then also, it was really it's a really interesting process. I mean, Paramount were, you know, sort of releasing it. So it's really interesting to you know, just to interact with them and how that all happened. So it's a fantastic, it was a really interesting experience. And Nick, it's the first film I did with Nick Ham, who's quite a character, to put it very mildly. So that was quite interesting, just in terms of the whole creative process. And it was good. Yeah, no, it's good. No, it was good. I mean, you know, it was, and then closing finance it was just, it had all the usual difficulties, as well as music and pre-recording being thrown into it.
Yeah. And would you started filming before you closed all the finance? And have you ever done that?
I really try and make a mission of doing that, because it is always a major problem, cash flow, when you've always got to start before you are closed. And you really don't want to be getting bridge finance into a film, which is so expensive. And also, if you're still trying to close the movie 4 or 5 weeks into photography, you're not focusing on on making a film. All you're doing is dealing with lawyers and paperwork all day.
Totally, yeah.
But it is a cash flow is always the kind of the main issues. You can get into real
trouble, because as soon as that first pound comes in, if you like, the first investors in, you kind of use that to go, cool, that's development, that's pre-production, let's start. But then you go, oh right, well, we now need to, otherwise we're just spending someone's money, and we think the film's happening, but it could all fall down, and then you owe this person money.
I think that is one good thing that comes from experience of a lot of films. You can make that judgment whether the film is going to close. And that's actually why I don't like really working with new financiers, because I have been in some very weird positions where literally people have said, we are investing in the film, instructed lawyers, and then it's, oh, we don't actually have any money. And it's like, so, you know what I mean? And that we had, on Robot Overlords, we had that, and we literally, one of the investors fell out and for like £1 million a week for photography.
These are the kind of investors that you see have these kind of Cannes boat parties. And we're one of the smaller finances in the UK, but like, you'd be amazed at how many times these supposed big, massive finances, they come to us asking for money. And I'm like, really? We're tiny in comparison to you. So you're right. That does go on a lot.
And you don't, yeah, exactly. And that is the worst thing producer I'm always trying to avoid. Is like, someone says we've got money and actually realize they're brokering it, going to trying to go to companies that you know anyway. And it's just, shopping your project.
I suppose it makes sense to move on to Churchill and the Wife, which I suppose if you think about it, are more awards-friendly dramas, if you like. So you kind of went from these sort of fun punk-esque indie film sort of world, sci-fi mix into the sort of horror genre, into these sort of award-baiting type movies. Was that a conscious decision, or was that just how it fell in your lap?
It was actually through Embankment Films, who are a sales company, and they sold Robot Overlords, and basically they had Churchill on their slate, which had been developed by Nick and Paul at Salon Pictures. And they said, they said, look, I think it could Salon looking for a producing partner on the movie to come in and help finance and get it through the gate. And I read the script and just really thought, what an interesting bit of history kind of thing in terms of the last 3 days before D-Day. And I never knew the subtleties of what was going on at the time. And so I just thought, and I think Brian Cox was attached at the time, actually, when it came on. And then we found an equation where to actually move the film to Scotland and shoot in Edinburgh and Glasgow was the best way to make the film and deliver it. And I still can't quite believe how we did it on the budget number we did it for. There are a couple of scenes in it where you think, shit, I could have done with another bit more money there just to get a few more soldiers in the shot. But it was it's a real performance piece. I just really enjoyed watching an actor at the top of their game just deliver that. And that's the same with Glenn and Jonathan on The Wife kind of thing. It's just, that is such a good vehicle.
It's such a great movie. What a movie. What an incredible film.
I'm still traumatized by that, actually. I remember I was sitting at the Oscars when Glenn, literally, we never thought we'd never thought she'd win an Oscar. And then she won the Golden Globe, she won the SAG Critics' Choice. And the week before the Oscars, every single pundit was saying 100% she will win the Oscar, basically. I started getting really excited. I remember sitting at like my cheap seat in the Oscars next to kind of someone's mother or kind of, and
she's a person too.
Yeah, exactly. And then just waiting right until the end. And then it's Best Actress. And with so much expectation, and then it's just Olivia Colman. And I just kind of was, it's just like still in slow motion.
Yes.
But anyway.
It's funny because my friend Alex Wilton Regan is in that movie as well.
Oh, yeah, love her.
Yeah, Alex is great. She's so cool. I've made movies with her in the past, and she's just so cool. And it was just so nice to see her promoting it, and then suddenly it sort of built up. It really built up.
Yeah, it really built up.
Yeah. Do names like, Brian Cox, Glenn Close and Jonathan, does that really help with the financing from the off then? Is that kind of like, well, we've got them, it's not DiCaprio, do you see what I mean? But does it kind of go, well, at this level, it's not an issue because we can sell this many numbers?
Yeah, it's a very good question. I think as a part of a package, we had Christian Slater and Glenn Close and Jonathan, and that just about worked for the budget we went in at. It's not a slam dunk. I mean, there are actually very few actors where it is a slam dunk.
I agree, yeah.
So a combination of an award-winning director, how we financed it in terms of the risk, plus, so it got to that. But again, it would have, if the film had been, £1 million more, it wouldn't have worked numbers wise.
Got you.
But but for that, there is definitely that market for the older demographic cinema goer is definitely one that still works, which is why female skewed, which is why films like sort of Military Wives and The Wife performed well. You know what I mean? So I think that's one area of cinema which is a smart way to target.
And did things change for you at that point? As in, was not necessarily easier because you're already on the upward trajectory, but suddenly now you've got films that are banging on the Oscars door and literally you're there at the Oscars. Did that slightly change things for you for your next movies with Ordinary Love with Liam Neeson and then obviously into Military Wives and Love, Wedding, Repeat?
It is definitely good chat. I think that's the depressing thing, actually, is about each movie you do, you really are starting again on the next one. Right. But it's definitely, you have more credibility with the agents, in terms of taking calls, which, will probably get you one call kind of thing.
Yes.
So you've got to use it well.
I see. Yeah.
So it's part of a story we tell as a company, and the way a 1,000,000% it helps. It's not going to help enough to get someone to do a film they don't want to do.
Exactly, that says it all, doesn't it?
They've still got to really, really want to do it. But it's a fantastic experience personally to go and sit at the Oscars and kind of just be part of it for
must have been. Finally then, about you develop your own projects, especially with Military Wives and Love, Wedding, Repeat. What do you do then? Do people come to you with ideas? Do you then develop them from them? Do you have loads of ideas you're developing and seeing which one goes? And do you find writers? How does it work for you in that space?
It's largely, on Love, Wedding, Repeat, it was largely, that started because Alex Walton at Endeavour Content came and said he's got an Italian distributor called Notorious who've optioned the remake rights on a movie called Plan de Table. And that was when he sort of sent that over. I watched the movie and thought, looks great, let's do it. So then we developed the film together, Notorious and Tempo. And so that was that. And then it really, really depends. And there's it's like Nick Ham is quite active in sourcing out material. Actually, no, Driven, the John DeLorean film, that Colin Bateman, the writer of The Journey, pitched that on the set of The Journey. And that's how that started, that particular story.
Yeah.
So it all sort of depends, really. And it's really, sometimes it's an article or sometimes it's a book. But we do, or it's a director who's got an idea. And I really like that, actually, if it's a director that's got a really, really strong idea that I'm sort of passionate about. But it's kind of, we really, we can't do, I don't think any independent producer can really do meaningful, speculative development. I think you've got to be really in love with the idea.
Yes.
To get it, to make it work. And to, we're a couple of sort of, bigger projects, which we earlier on made a play for and haven't come off. And, we can't do that again, basically. So I think the kind of the sort of, the lesson I learned from that is don't bite off more than you can chew and just keep in that, that area which you can finance and produce the movies for, which will make money.
Yeah. Which makes total sense. You've found that little niche, your market, and you keep working on that. I like that people can pitch to you. I think that's how a lot of projects get found these days, is you'll just be chatting to someone else on set or just in the pub and they'll say, I've got this idea. And you go, yeah, that's great. Especially if it's a filmmaker, a director, producer or screenwriter, you go, yeah, that's cool. Develop that. And with you, do you then go, right, we really like that idea. Let me see if I can find some seed money so you can sit and write it. Or is it sometimes go off and do it on spec and come back to us?
It just depends. Like on John and Mark wrote the script that we're going to start filming in 4 weeks on spec, and then we optioned it.
Got ya.
And that's really because, it's sort of third film with John. So that worked really well, basically. So we had that prior relationship. They've got a great idea, which I love the first half of a script and don't like the second half of a script at all.
Just generally.
It's a long process, but I just think they've got a killer pitch or something.
Brilliant.
Which I'm trying to get him to change his mind, but he's convinced the second half is
up to snuff.
And I love those like side stories that kind of, there's some big historical event and then there's a really good way to access it via a kind of, someone you've never heard of.
Yeah, backstory within that world. Yeah, like the maid of, not Hitler, but do you know what I mean? Someone like that. You go,
exactly. Yeah.
I like that. Great. This has been amazing, Piers. Thank you so much for spending time with the Filmmakers Podcast. Honestly, this has been amazing.
That's great. Pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Pleasure. And then I suppose, you've given so much advice, but if there's another bit of advice for filmmakers, for producers starting out or producers doing well, anything else along your journey you've learnt, mistakes you've made, things like that you just go, oh yeah, don't do that, or do that.
I think perseverance is quite a good quality, basically, and also sense of humor. I think is incredibly important.
So true. If you're working with people for 5-10 years on projects, and you often are, you have to get on with them. And if you don't, you're like, oh my god, I've got to call them up and talk about a budget or talk about selling it in, I don't know, Austria or whatever. He's like, I don't want to do this, but you want to get on the phone to these people.
But I think it's a great time. I think it's a great time to produce, especially with what's happening in the streaming world. And it's a good time to be getting stories out there. And I think international audiences as well are consuming more and more open to consuming different stories from different places. So I think it's a good bet going forward.
Yes. Great. I love it. It's been amazing. Where can people find you on the social so they can say hello and thank you so much?
We've got one social media account, which is Tempo_Productions.
Cool.
I urge people to follow me. Currently, my daughter's got more followers than I do on the Tempo.
Right, come on, Filmmakers Podcast. Get on it. Get on, Piers.
Really upsetting me, basically, on a regular basis. And then our website is tempoproductions.net, which sort of, But I think we must do more on the communications level, as that has got fallen beside the.
But you do a
somewhat.
good blog on there, and that goes into detail. You've got a great behind the scenes on Driven on there. You know,
we have actually. That's true. That is true.
There is some good stuff to go there for. But like you say, if you've not got a film out or whatever, why would people generally go to our production sites?
Yeah, exactly.
There's not much on there. You know what I mean? Yeah. There's a trailer which you can get on YouTube. So, but still, I get that. That's great. I tweeted you for you to come on, so I appreciate that you responded. So basically everyone, Piers might respond to you. Sharpie, where can people follow you?
Just the usuals, mate. Yeah, so Ian Sharp 1 on Instagram, and I think I'm just Ian Sharp on Twitter, but I'm pretty active on both.
He very much is, and I'm at Giles Alderson, or you can follow the podcast at Filmmakers Pod on Twitter, or if you really want to get interested in us and what we're doing and maybe come on the show, if you've got a film out or know someone who does, then email us at thefilmmakerspodcast@gmail.com. Got some shout outs to do this week. Some people who've been amazing this week, always. Mark Coleman, Chris Hughes, Will Kenning, and Anastasia Chill. And also, I have to give a really good shout out to Ian Campbell. Now, Ian Campbell was one of the original choreographers on Arthur and Merlin, and Drew took over because Ian was doing some other work at the time. But he's got his brand new action course, which is called Go Fight Yourself. And I suppose it's just one of those courses right now. If you're an actor and you're a filmmaker and you want to learn more about the craft of putting action into film, then this course is highly recommended by me. It is brilliant. He wanted to share some knowledge and practices that everyone with an interest in action filmmaking could benefit from. It's fun and fundamental, so you'll learn loads on this course, all about strikes, reaction shots, framing, filmmaking camera movements, designing fight choreography, all that kind of stuff, all the way through to editing and post-production. It's only 32 quid as well, and if you say you know me, hey, you might get a discount. I don't know, Ian. No? Okay. And that includes free links to editing and post-production software called Hit Film Express. And best of all, they're giving you £500 worth of the best scenes in short films made using skills learned over the course. The link for that is in the show notes. But it's just search gofightyourself.com, the action course. So that's Ian Campbell. Shout out to you. Congratulations for doing this, mate. It's brilliant. And the other one is to First Flights. Now, have you heard of First Flights, Sharpie?
No, I've not heard of them.
They award filmmakers who haven't made a movie before some money so they can go make their movie, and they actually give them enough to go make it as well. So it's basically launched a new short film fund, so it's available to directors and producers. The fund offers a new way for filmmakers to access a non-recoupable grant of up to $7,000 for you to go make your short film. That's quite a lot to go make a short film. You can do it. Go to firstflights.com/short-film-fund. Links to that in the show notes. Don't say we don't give you anything. We give you everything. So yeah, if you do like this podcast, tell your mates. It really does make a difference to us when we're sat here in our rooms doing this for you. So yeah, do tell your mates. And if you haven't left a review yet, a 5-star review, go there now. If you're on your iTunes, you're scrolling through, just literally click through and write, "This is Ace. Listen." Doesn't take a second, so thank you for those who have, and if you haven't, get on it. We have got some amazing guests coming up for you on the Filmmakers Podcast very shortly. We have Sarah Gavron, the director of Rocks and Suffragettes. We have screenwriter and director John Badham, the legendary John Badham, who directed Saturday Night Fever and War Games. And we have Anna Bowden and Ryan Fleck. And that's just some of the episodes we have coming up for you. And don't forget, our website is filled with the other 177 podcasts that you can find. Just go there and search for director, producer, screenwriter, whatever it is that you are into and that you want to be. And the list will come up and you can list all of those in a row. And also on the website is our merchandise. We have water bottles, we have face masks, we have cool ass t-shirts and hoodies and all that jazz. So do go have a look, thefilmmakerspodcast.com. Remember, you can go out there and make your indie film. You can make it happen. Remember who your audience is and do it. And if you're lucky to rise up and do well, like Piers has done, it's your duty to send the elevator back down. Piers Tempest, thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Giles.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Ian.
Cheers, Ian.
Thank you.
Take care, everyone. We will see you next Tuesday. Bye.